Hey everybody, last week Damiani and I dreamed up the dream Zelda. This time, because he informs me that Zelda's Link's Awakening is about dreams and nightmares, we're going to dream up the worst possible nightmare Zelda ever.
Oh no. I immediately reacted with loot boxes.
Loot boxes.
So every single unique Zelda item that you usually get in a game absolutely should not be planned. It should all be random loot box. So you just keep getting rupees instead.
Yeah.
And then you got to pay real money to get a better drop rate so you can get, items.
Yes.
And we're going to go with the Breath of the Wild's durability system.
Oh, yeah.
So
for sure.
you get really trashy ones that break really fast.
Yeah. And it definitely has to have a for whatever reason they implement like the phone system of like play energy, so you can only play for like certain amounts of time at a time.
Yes, you'll be, no matter where you are, you can just be running across the field back in a dungeon. It's like, sorry, your time has expired. Link needs to power up.
Yeah. And if it times out while you're in a dungeon, you have to start back over.
It just kicks you, boots you out.
Boots you out. Yeah.
It sends you back. It sends you back to the sleeping pod at the beginning of Breath of the Wild, and you have to go, and you gotta recharge in there.
A little troll. I'm gonna troll you a little bit. Even more water. All the water. We had too much water before.
Spontaneous water.
Yeah. Sometimes levels are just water now.
So instead of the annoyance of trying to climb up sides in the rain, it just floods parts of the environment, so you can't even walk either.
Yeah, when it rains, it's just
because your stamina depletes in water, so you're just gonna drown.
Right. You don't. Yeah, and you can't breathe underwater.
Yes.
So.
But enemies can. All the enemies can.
Yeah, all the enemies can. And they can swim really fast.
And you can lose items into the water.
Right. Yeah.
So if any of your items you got...
Anything you're holding slips out of your hand if it flash floods.
Yeah, if you had a rare loot box that dropped, but then the rain starts and it floods it, you lost that rare thing, and you don't get a refund.
I think that there would be no story until like 60% of the way through, and then it's like a 2-hour cutscene, but without voice acting. But every single line of dialogue has like kind of talking to go with it,
really
like fake,
sound,
really annoying, like
the most
non-talking.
Annoying, yes, I agree with that.
Yeah,
and it should also be someone who starts off with thinking you're like, oh, you're a newcomer to this series. Let me tell you the entire storyline of everything.
Already 60% through the game.
Yes, 60%. Yes,
and then it gets to the point where they start explaining the things that you've been doing this game.
And then at the end they go, by the way, all that has absolutely no bearing on this game.
On what I'm about to tell you.
But we want to make sure you knew about it. And you know what? I'm kind of thinking that the annoying voice could even be like a Toad voice. Oh, because I want a Toad somewhere in this game.
Sure.
It just follows you around, and the annoying companion, like the fairy in Ocarina of Time, Navi.
Yeah.
I just want someone to follow you around constantly, just pointing out the most obvious stuff.
And they're just really negative. Like they see the world through like, just the worst kind of lens. Like everything they see is just terrible.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, you're gonna die. There's a thing over here, but you're not good enough to get it. Yeah. You're just gonna die.
We shouldn't be here. Yeah.
How did you miss this obvious secret? Come on, like anyone could have solved that puzzle.
Yeah.
And it like looks up online statistics. Like 93% of people solve this faster than you.
Yeah. Yeah. The Toad is constantly looking up stats and like belittling you.
This is it. We need every puzzle needs to just have an online stat that shows you how people solved it before you do it. Yeah. Every puzzle, like 96% of people did it this way, 3%, and it's like you don't have the option to turn it off. It's just like auto assist puzzles.
You can't turn it off. And like a comment system that you can't turn off.
Yes.
That's just always.
And they're all VO'd by that annoying voice.
Yeah. What are some other complaints about Zelda? So I think that like it should be very, very, very stringent about being a part of the timeline, the Zelda timeline, while also like creating like 4 loose ends and paradoxes within the already accepted timeline. You know what I mean? Like they should slot it in between like games like 3 and 4, but it like doesn't work. It like doesn't make sense.
Just make it like an irrelevant side story. They make a big deal during the marketing that this is this game takes place like right after Ocarina of Time.
Right.
It's gonna fill in, and then it comes out and it has nothing to do. They just say, these like after the events of Ocarina of Time. Like kind of like Majora's Mask, essentially,
right.
but another Majora's Mask.
But I definitely wanted to almost entirely have nothing to do with the timeline. But the only things that do link in, like break the timeline even more. Like don't make sense.
Yes, they should have random things that appear that shouldn't be there, and they just say, and everyone just acts like it's normal. Like this is how it works in this game.
Also, I think it should have, like, they should attempt to mix every art style from every Zelda game ever in this.
That might actually be
one
cool.
Game. It might be cool. But like, here's the deal: they try, but they fail. They like do it in a really bad way.
They use it in
like
really
what
bad
could
ways.
be that to me is like the kind of the worst stuff, where it like, man, this idea could be really cool, but they fully missed the mark.
Yes,
you know.
They should absolutely have every single item you pick up, no matter how many times you've picked up already, has text on screen that interrupts the game. There's like a big pop-up text from Skyward Sword. It comes back, and that's it. Toad will narrate that for you each time. Your companion Toad will just be like, "That's a blue rupee. It's worth 5."
For all of
every
them.
time.
Yeah. And throughout the game, like even at the very like final boss, you're still getting like tutorial pop-ups.
Yes.
That freeze the game. And needless to say, like poor controls. It's hard to pick up items. Stuff that looks like you can interact with it, you can't interact with it.
It should be a side-scrolling platforming action adventure game like Zelda 2. So everyone doesn't like it. Like all completely linear.
But only sometimes.
Only sometimes, like, yes, the dungeon portions are like that.
Yeah.
But then the overworld is like...
Yeah, so it's Breath of the Wild overworld in, like, Spirit Tracks art style with all the... And dungeons are back, but they're all Zelda 2.
That's it, Ian. You nailed it. You said Spirit Tracks?
It's all... The
overworld, literally, you should just be on a train that just takes you automatically to each next... And you can't get off.
It's this huge world map.
You see this beautiful world, but you can't get off.
And there's all kinds of, like, super
like
interesting...
Park. Like, how do you interrupt this?
And, like, Toad keeps, like, pointing out... But he's, like, pissed about it, but he's, like, interesting-looking stuff. Like, oh, look at that skeleton. I wonder that might be interesting to someone who cares, you know?
Oh, disappointing. It absolutely should be multiplayer.
Oh, for sure.
Where people can just randomly join your game.
You get you get invaded like all the time.
Invading your game and mess up your stuff. They could like break.
No level capping.
Correct. So they could be super high level. Just come in one shot. You take all your gear, like Diablo style looting.
Right, but there's no Master Sword in this game.
Yeah, you don't have a good sword. What do you have instead?
Nothing.
A gun.
Yeah, you just have a 9mm Beretta for some reason. And it's never explained or addressed.
And it doesn't actually work. It doesn't do anything. Yeah. It's just, you have it, and you bang people over the head with it.
You start the game with 12 bullets, and then you just run out.
And they don't tell you that's the only 12 you're getting.
And you never find another set of bullets. And, like, you think it's going to factor into the story. Like, there's some real-world crossover, and it just never
happens. Oh. Whoa. I'm trying to think of what would be a bad type of music choice for this.
Oh,
since the games usually have pretty good music.
The really bad MIDI music from that Dragon Quest.
Yeah,
like,
because
good music, but just with horrible grating instruments.
Yeah. Zelda at once upon a time was always called out for not using real instruments for their arrangements.
Oh, okay.
And using basically synth stuff.
Yeah.
But like not cool synth stuff.
I was gonna say, don't you besmirch the name of synths here down there.
The shorthand people like used to always claim it was like it sounds like a MIDI from like N64 Super Nintendo days. So
that, but worse.
Really bad. So like only like 4 really bad quality instruments at any time. Like same 4 instruments for every song.
And no song has a loop longer than 25 seconds.
Yes,
I like that. And it just repeats.
That's basically 4 swords, the OG 4 swords.
Oh, okay.
And we should have a really annoying person do lyrics who like sounds horrible. It's like,
and the only lyric is just like Zelda, Zelda, Zelda. Zelda's not in the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone just like talks about her or acknowledges her, but you just never see them. And you get to the point, and they're just like, Zelda's in another castle.
And it seems like it's never confirmed, but it seems as though they like had another section of the game planned, but had to rush it out. So like Zelda just like was planned but never implemented into this version of Zelda.
I would take it one step further, Ian, and put either under construction signs in the game, or put coming as paid DLC with a release.
But then the DLC never
comes out.
Yeah, it has a release date at launch, and then it just never mentioned again.
Never comes out. Oh yes.
I want there to be like one area of the game where like Blighttown, but worse, like where the frame rate just gets awful.
And lots of platforming during that part,
and
too.
Yeah, lots of jumping during that part.
And it's the one spot where you get some of the best gear, but it's on an only spot you can get that gear. And if you die or drop it and it breaks, like you never get it again.
Never, ever, yeah.
Yeah, and lots of deaths to the bad frame rate.
So these are a lot of these are like just bad video game things. But what are some specific, like really specific, like Zelda, like what made Breath of the Wild so great that we could just flip over?
I mean, the joke about water is have lots of water, but you can't go underwater like the Wind Waker.
Right.
So make the game about, hey, you're supposed to explore the ocean and explore this underwater, but you just can't go underwater. So all you do is encounter people on the surface who tell you about all the, like, it's the same thing as the train joke, you know?
Oh, but also the train. Speaking of the train again.
Oh yeah.
So the train, you have a very short window to push the disembark button.
Oh,
the train doesn't stop, but you have to push the button to get off on only certain areas. Unclear which areas you can get off on. But if you miss it, it's a loop. So you have to take the entire world map again to try to get to the level you're trying to get to.
And you're just in that same 20-second loop over and over again.
And the music is just like train,
it's like train moves, train.
Spirit tracks, train.
You love trains.
Yeah. But yeah. So too much water.
Yeah, too much water. What are some other things?
Areas of the game that have extreme temperatures.
Okay.
And you assume that you're supposed to like have items and stuff that you can deal with these temperatures, but that was just never put into the game. So you have these extreme temperatures, but you're just dying really fast constantly. You just have to keep eating healing items to heal or you'll die.
There's a whole zone. It's like you think you have all of this stuff staved up and you're good to go, and you have to burn through all of it, and it makes you do it. Otherwise you will die, and then you lose all that stuff. Yeah. And you have to like take the train back to the first area and then grind through all the areas again to get all that stuff again.
Yeah.
Grinding. A lot of grinding. There's a lot of grinding in this game.
Every time you die at all, it starts you back at the very beginning area.
Like, they should have a thing where you have to forge your own sword at the beginning, and when you die, you lose it, so you have to start all over collecting all the raw elements. And then the blacksmith, and each time the blacksmith just, like, scolds you and says, like, how can you be so careless to lose your sword again?
And there's one thing you have to buy from the blacksmith, and the price goes up every time you die.
Oh, yeah.
And you can pay real money to get those rupees.
And otherwise, you have to do in-game jobs, like remedial jobs.
Yeah. Like cleaning, like, toilets.
Yes, they will make it, and you have to use motion controls, or you have to like wipe off, like you have to like wipe down windows.
But the motion controls are really confusing unless you're in handheld mode.
Yes,
like nothing else really makes sense. They work, but you're like, what is happening? Yeah, it's like the opposite of Breath of the Wild, where like the only way to make sense of it was a pro controller.
There should be lots of parts that require motion controls and really complex ones, like high precision, and doesn't work right, and so you always mess up, so you're getting frustrated a lot.
The only way to swing the sword is with motion controls.
I think you should also make it so advanced text, to advance each text line, you have to draw like a rune symbol. Each time.
Every dialogue tree you have to write.
Like Toad presents a rune symbol for you, and you gotta draw it. If you get it wrong, he takes you back to the beginning of the dialogue. Because he goes, oh, you want to hear all this again? I guess you weren't paying attention.
Yeah, every time you get it wrong, he goes, you weren't paying attention, I guess. Let me say that again. That's the only voiced line in the game. Otherwise, it's...
Yeah, I think...
Stamina runs out and doesn't recharge automatically unless you eat something.
Yes.
You have to eat, like, bananas and stuff to replenish. And the enemies, what clan was it? The Yiga?
Yiga clan?
Yiga clan is just constantly materializing. Just puffing up around you all the time.
Yes, and you have to pay, you can pay
Even
a
when
fee
you're on
to
the train
reduce-
and you can't fight when you're on the train.
and you can pay money to reduce the encounter rate.
Yeah.
It's like a premium tier.
Preview tier. Or if you bought the deluxe, if you bought the deluxe version of the game, you get a free 24-hour voucher that the wording is unclear, that everyone thinks it's 24 hours of game playtime, but it's just the first 24 hours in real life. But if you reset your Switch clock to the release day, and you have the deluxe version, you get the 24 hours again every time. So you just have to keep setting your Switch to that first day over and over again.
I would love it if they could detect that and it just...
They patch that in after 2 weeks.
Toad comes in and says, you've been naughty. You've been a very naughty person. And
they patch it in. They patch it in after 2 weeks, and if you've done that, Toad deletes your save.
No, that would be brutal. But Ian, I think it'd be only fair is if Toad can tell how much time you like tried to set ahead and makes you locked out from the game for that. And it just displays a counter.
The game, it locks you up for that many days. Except, there's a timer, and Toad gives you the Rune mini game, but it's the hardest version to try to speed up the timer. But there's a catch because if every time you mess up, it adds an hour to the timer. Yeah. So in trying to decrease, you might make it worse.
And all the while, Toad just talks about all the cool stuff other people are doing in this game. And it'll actually...
And it spoils it. It spoils parts of the game.
Not only that, if you're playing any other game, it will interrupt that game with a message from Toad telling you how much...
Yeah, just constant Switch notifications. That should just be normal. That should happen even if you're not being punished. What if there's something wrong with the game where you're getting notifications about the game even while you're playing the game? It's like it's been 0 minutes since you played Zelda whatever.
It should just keep telling you about stuff you already did, like you haven't done it yet. Sorry, our servers aren't up to date. We're a little behind right now. Oh, this would drive some people just a little insane, I think. Boss battles.
Yeah, I was just thinking about boss battle. Ganon is clearly the main enemy, but there's a glitched door or something. You can never actually fight him. Or something like that. Or you just fight all of his minions and then the game ends. The whole game is leading up to this big fight with Ganon, but then you beat his sub boss and then credits.
And you never get to fight him.
Yeah.
And he's just staring there laughing at you in the credits.
And everyone thinks they got the bad ending. They're like, what happened?
Yeah, and then people trying to figure out. They talk to each other. Oh, we must have. We needed to pay Toad a little bit more money here, and we need to. If you ride the train 200 times around the whole environment, you'll get a.
Or if you get 999,999 rupees or whatever, but it's not true.
None of it's true. I think it'd be funny if all the boss fights had lots of different enemies coming out at the same time, and it just overloads the game, so it runs 2 frames a second.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of objectives you have to do as well during the fight, so it just gets chaotic and unplayable.
Yeah.
To the point where it just glitches out a lot. And they're just well, that's part of the experience, You're just there's 1 or 2 players who'll do it immediately and just be just get good, everybody. And you're just gonna be this is bad.
And the mini map should be
lies.
Yeah, well, it should be weirdly inaccurate, but also inverted for some reason. It's south is at the top, and there's no way to change it, and everyone's why?
Yeah, people start asking hey, how do we fix this? This must be the key to solving.
Right.
This is how you lock the real Ganondorf fight. Is you solve.
Right.
The
Everyone
mini-map.
thinks it's magnetic south or something in this game, and it's what's going on?
There should be cryptic clues that can be interpreted as potentially something related to that.
Yeah.
But they're really about something else that's innocuous.
It's really dumb.
So people go really in depth.
It's a recipe for food.
They could even do a crazy thing where the mini map in the maps are just from other games, not the game you're playing.
That's some Metal Gear Solid 2 business.
So just look at the map, wait a second,
wait a minute.
Where is this?
Cooking. There should be thousands of recipes, but the game doesn't have the recipes inside of itself. You can download a separate like grimoire, like compendium of recipes on your phone, but the only way it tells you that what a recipe is if you've just randomly done it in the game, and then it'll upload to the phone. You know, so it's only unlocked if you've guessed it. It doesn't save it in the game, and like if Toad, there's a glitch or something where if Toad is talking, it doesn't update correctly.
Oh no! Oh no!
But every time you cook, Toad goes, "Wow, that looks bad."
Yeah.
So it's every time it would update. Yeah.
And you never know if you actually, unless you double checked your own app on the phone, you never actually know you got a correct recipe, even if you cooked correctly.
Yeah. Or like there's a 25% chance that Toad won't say anything, and those are the only times that it updates. So you'd have to cook everything like a bunch of times.
That app should absolutely be connected to some kind of cooking service /
oh, for sure.
like Real Chefs or something, where they basically also tell you that you're not smart for not figuring it out on yourself. Like, this is a very simple recipe. How could anyone not know this and stuff? And then they will offer their advice for a small fee.
For a small fee.
Yeah, for a nominal fee, they will help you out and give you some suggestions. What if you had to cook? What if they had to release this with a new camera app, and you had to cook in person the dishes and like have to show it to be approved by Virtual Toad? And that's the only way
Toad
to
is like
save.
C-Man. He's just like a jerk dude.
In fact, this whole game should just be like Pokemon Go, where you really have to go out and do this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And see how many people really like going on a real adventure. I'm so tired.
I feel like the main character should, like, you're not sure if it's Link or not.
It should absolutely be sent in modern times. You should have Hot Topic attire. And yes, absolutely. It should be set like that. You ride a skateboard around.
Yeah.
When you're not on the train.
And all the music is like the guy doing the like train. It's Avenged Sevenfold.
Yes.
But it's still really bad MIDI. But it's Avenged Sevenfold songs.
Yeah,
really bad
that would
MIDI.
fit really well.
Yeah.
And on top of that, your instrument, the musical device for this game to like play the songs you need to do stuff, is auto tuning.
Oh,
so
sure.
Everything is just like auto tune stuff, and so it doesn't really matter what you do. You just plug it in and auto tunes it. Yeah.
Yeah, it selects the song you're gonna play right when you pull it out randomly.
Yeah, there should definitely be on the train. I think at some point, like a month into the game, they should release like a VIP seating service where you can actually sit closer to the exits. Because there's a small window you can get off, as you said.
Right.
So if you're not close to the exit, a line forms and you might not get off in time. So you actually
it's multiplayer.
Yeah, you could be stuck on there for a long time. And even
only the trains are multiplayer.
Yes.
And it's just a queue to get off.
And there's only one train for all the player base.
Yeah.
And so getting on and off, like you could be standing there waiting in line, like the great line of Hyrule, just.
And it has no impact on the gameplay other than making it worse.
Yes.
And there are very few servers, so it's like queue times of hours to just play Zelda.
Yeah.
For no reason.
And the queue times don't count towards your punishment time if you got locked out. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this game sounds awful.
Yeah. People would still play it though.
Oh,
That's the sad part.
We'd probably give it like an 8.
Yeah. Like 7, swimming in 7s.
7. Well, this put me in a really weird emotional state, Damiani.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel right now.
Now you need to play Link's Awakening and you'll feel much better.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it tonight. Well, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, everyone.
Yeah, we're sorry.
Hopefully you enjoyed that. I don't know.
They'll enjoy it. Tell us how we could have been even more diabolical.
Yeah, what's your favorite worst thing about what could be worse?
Yeah.
Okay, bye.